Hi, I'm Amy Hannon, and nothing thrills me more than people and food. I'm a preacher's wife, a mom of 3, and I own my own specialty kitchen store. I've kept an open door and a well-stocked fridge, which means I have fed a lot of mouths over the years. So welcome to my kitchen. This is Cooking Today. Hi, welcome to Cooking Today. I'm glad you're with me again in the kitchen. Today I'm making white chicken chili, which is one of our absolute very favorite soups in the world. It is creamy with tons of Monterey Jack cheese melted into our delicious homemade chicken stock that is just the liquid in this soup. It is so good. This is the soup that my family asks for the very first time we get a cold snap. This is what they want. It's what my kids want when they have friends over. It's delicious. We absolutely love it. And before we do anything, we need to get our onions cooking because they take a little time. And so I've already got another heavy Dutch oven, 5.5 quart. It's already warm. We're gonna put a little olive oil in this and saute our onions. So let's get just a little bit of oil in here. And I've actually chopped more onions than we really need. And you can onion as much or as little as you would like. It's kind of up to you. I'm doing about 1.5 cups or 2 cups on there. And we're just gonna let those saute. And you can saute in olive oil just kind of low, just to get them soft and a little bit translucent. You don't wanna boil them and you don't wanna get them all scorched and brown. So we're just gonna let these simmer for just a little bit. Just cook just a little in this oil. And I'm gonna keep my eyes on them. And let me just tell you a little bit about this white chicken chili. I actually had this for the first time at a Christmas Eve, kind of a Christmas Eve dinner, I think, at my sister-in-law's house after we had been to Christmas Eve service. She made it and it was divine. I mean, we have had it so many times since then, and she had actually gotten it out of our church cookbook. And I had actually overlooked it and had never seen it before. It is so good. It was put in the church cookbook by Babs Carter in Fayetteville. We've known her for years. It's delicious. I don't know where Babs got the recipe, but it's really good. So if you see Babs, tell her thanks. We are grateful for her submitting the white chicken chili recipe to the church cookbook. Now, I'll tell you another thing that's kind of fun about this chicken chili recipe is that a lot of times they're really, they're a little bit more kind of Southwestern maybe, and so they're not too far off of like a taco soup, but this one is really different. It's very kind of zingy, tangy with some lime and cilantro, and again, we're using this good chicken stock and white beans. The flavors in this are amazing, and then there's even some ginger in there, which you generally would never think would go into a chili, but it does in this one, and it's a surprise. When I've made this before for a dinner party, we had like a little neighborhood get together. All the ladies sat around the island and they were saying, don't tell me, but I'm trying to figure out what is that in there that I'm tasting? And it was the ginger. It's a wonderful surprise. So we've got these onions sauteing over here on the stove, and we want them to have a little bit of color. And we are going to add to these, I'm going to turn my heat up just a little bit. We're going to add to this our cumin, the ginger I was just telling you about, and a little bit of oregano. And you can get the full recipe on our website. But we're going to add this in and saute this. I'm going to put a little bit more oil on these onions, a little bit more. We're just going to let this cook a minute. We're also going to add in our garlic, but you know, you don't want to put in garlic at the same time you put in onions because garlic cooks so fast that it'll burn long before the onions are done. So you really always want to saute your onions first, then throw your garlic in just for a few minutes before you add the liquid. Otherwise, it will scorch, and you know what that means? That means you have to throw this whole pot of seasonings and onions out because you can't eat burned garlic. You have probably accidentally done that before, and it is a sad, sad moment in the kitchen. Okay, so this is cooking. We're going to give those a few minutes. And if you've been with us before, we've actually made this homemade chicken stock and canned it. And it has been refrigerated. And let me say this about chicken stock. It really holds really well in the refrigerator. This is the homemade kind. Holds well in the refrigerator for about 1 to 2 weeks. You wouldn't want to do it any longer. And then it actually freezes for about 2 months until it's probably not very good for you to eat. And so we actually have fresh because we've just made it in the last couple of days. And so this is what we're going to put in. And then we also have this beautiful pulled chicken that we also received and, rendered and pulled out when we actually made our stock. This chicken that we pulled out that cooked all day long in that beautiful flavored liquid. So we have this chicken. It is so tender. We've kind of nibbled on it a little bit. It's really, really good. So we're going to put this in just a few minutes. We're also going to use white beans. This is a great, easy thing to do, y'all. A lot of it is canned and prepared. If you don't have homemade chicken stock, you can buy chicken stock. Cartoned chicken stock is absolutely fine. You could also even do rotisserie chicken for a shortcut if you would like. It's a little bit more expensive, but you can certainly do that. But then we just have canned beans and a little bit of lime. It's a really, really easy soup to make. So we've got these going, sauteing a little bit. I'm going to add the garlic in and give it a little stir. And when we come back, we're going to keep on stirring and we'll have white chicken chili. I'll show you what's next. This is Cooking Today. Okay, so we're stirring our white chicken chili. We were about to add in our garlic. Remember I said be careful. You only want to get this chopped garlic in there for a few minutes, and you want to stir, because you don't want it to burn. And you're going to know when garlic is ready because it's actually super scented, and you're going to smell this. It is so aromatic and delicious. So we're just going to let that stir. And garlic will eventually get a little bit more tender because we're going to actually simmer this, and don't worry about it not being cooked all the way down. We just want to give it a few minutes in this little saute. Okay, not long at all. It smells fantastic. I can't wait for y'all to smell this. Okay, so we have our chicken stock that we've made, and again, we have homemade. If you don't have homemade, you can use another brand. We're going to add about 3 cups plus a little. So this is when you want to have a little bit more on hand than what the recipe calls for, because it could cook down a little bit. You may need to, kind of spread the wealth a little and add a little more liquid. So that's just fine. But we want to get this liquid in here pretty quick because we don't want the, altogether now, garlic to burn. So we're going to get this poured in there. Yeah, and then not only that, but it loosens all of those good seasonings and stuff that have kind of accumulated on the bottom of the pan. So I'm going to say that was about 2 cups, and we're going to add a little bit more from this jar. Only about half, because I'm going to reserve the second little bit of this cup just in case we need it. Now I'm going to turn this up and give this a good, serious simmer, because we actually want it to reduce just a little bit. And reducing it just kind of gives it more flavor and kind of thickens it a little. And so we're going to actually turn that up and get that going. This smells divine. It is so good. Now, I'll say at this point in this recipe, it's not a very pretty color for starters. And it looks like, oh my goodness, look at all of that oregano. Now, it's got a lot of oregano in it. You're going to want to watch your teeth. You're going to have that friend that checks your teeth for you at the end, because there is a lot of oregano in this, but it's so good. And it is going to eventually kind of thin out. We're going to add the beans and some cheese and all that kind of stuff to it. But at this point, you're going to think, what in the world am I making? And you're going to have to just bear with me and trust me, okay? It's good. I would never lead you astray. Okay, so that is going to cook and reduce a little bit, and then we're going to add our beans and our chicken and let that just cook down. Now, I'll tell you that there are more economical choices for feeding a crowd. This is not one that I would use to feed like my church small group or an army or a whole bunch of football players. This one is so rich and good and has lots and lots of ingredients in it that it's one that I usually would make for a smaller group. So a couple of girlfriends, just my family, maybe a couple of other folks that we might have over, but this is not a big old vat of chili that would go for miles and miles. It has a few expensive ingredients in it, and so you don't want to use it for that. So don't start in trying to make this for a crowd, because you know that's pretty much my MO, is feeding a crowd. But this is not one of those. So just know that going into it, but it is good. So you do want to feed your people, like your people, with this one. So we have got this simmered. Yep, there it is. And so we've got all of this good stuff simmering in here, and I'm going to go ahead and add some salt, some black pepper, and then also our bay leaf, because it needs to go in there and simmer as well. Yum, that's going good. So that's kind of our good base. And that's all of our flavor that we're going to have going in there. And the very next thing is we're just going to add the beans. And I've drained just a tiny bit of the liquid off of these beans. And since this is a white chicken chili, you can use whatever beans you want. You can use all navy beans. You can use all cannellini beans or whatever that you want. I actually get 3 cans of 3 different kinds of white beans. I like the way that they have a different shape. I like that they have a tiny bit of different texture and flavor and all of that. And so it's just kind of more interesting that way. Kind of like when I make an apple crisp, I like to use a couple of different apples. It just kind of changes things up a little bit. So we're actually going to just pour these in. Easy as that. And I just drained that tiny, tiny bit of stuff off the top. I didn't rinse these and drain them at all. They are just what they are. So we're pouring these in. Look, we're already getting lighter. Whoop. Those have decided to stick in the bottom. There we go. And then we're going to add this good chicken in that we pulled off of our chicken when we made our chicken stock. And again, you can use boiled chicken breasts. I would not use canned chicken. That would be my one tip on this. I would not shortcut with canned chicken. I just don't think it would hold up well for a simmer this long. And you do want a bite of chicken. So if you have to shortcut, I would say a chicken breast or a rotisserie chicken. So I'm just putting this in there. I'm not even using it all. We've got an awful lot of chicken here. Okay. And so we've added our chicken and we've added all of our other goodies. And so we're gonna just let this simmer. And when we come back, we're gonna make tortilla chips. They're gonna go with it with cumin and chili powder and good stuff. This is Cooking Today. Hi, I'm Amy Hannon. Watch Monday to Friday, and I'll share stories, cooking tips, and recipes that'll feed everyone from your family to a big old crowd. Cooking Today, weekdays, right here on KNWA. Hi, we're back. We're making white chicken chili, and it smells divine in here. So good. Best part of this white chicken chili has got to be this Monterey Jack cheese that we have freshly shredded and we're about to put in here. So we've got this has been simmering. It's nice and warm. It's reduced down. I've turned the heat down just a tiny bit to a really low simmer because I don't want to just cook this to pieces. We want it just to be warm enough to melt in there, and it turns all of that chicken stock just into this delicious, creamy, cheesy soup. So, okay, here we go. We've got all this cheese that we've melted, and I'm going to reserve a little bit of this just for topping at the very end. Oh, and our oven's ready for our tortilla chips we're going to make. So I'm just going to do a couple of handfuls, little bit at a time, and stir, get it down in there. This is probably about 3 cups or so. Just a little bit at a time and get it stirred in. And right at the very end, we're going to actually add lime and fresh cilantro, and it is so good. That little bit of zing at the end. The lime in this is delicious. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's do one more handful. We'll say that's a cup. You're welcome to measure, or you can just eyeball it. We'll call it fistfuls. How's that? Okay, so let's get that stirred, and then we're going to let that simmer, but we want to make sure that it's nice, kind of distributed in there. Now we're starting to get white chicken chili. Remember at the end when I said you were going to be worried because it was green and murky looking? It is no longer green and murky. It's so pretty. Look at that. Okay, we're going to let that simmer a little bit. I've got it on about a 2 on my stove. So we're going to set this cheese down for garnish for at the end when we plate this up. Okay, so what we're going to do next, we've got our oven preheated to 400, and we just have a couple of tortillas. This is not like tortillas by the masses that you just eat endless bowls of. These are just kind of fun, pretty ones to kind of tuck in the side of the bowls just for a little bite of crisp. So I probably would only do like 2 or 3 of these per bowl or per person. So this is kind of fun, yummy garnish. And all I've got here are regular flour tortillas in like the fajita size, just the little guys. And what I'm gonna do is lay these out on this cooking sheet. I'll move this for you. I'm gonna do 5 because you don't want them to lay on top of each other, because if they lay on top of each other, they're gonna steam and they're not gonna get crispy, and you don't want that. Okay, I'm just doing a little drizzle. Actually, I'm gonna drizzle a little more on that guy and that guy. Okay, this is not very scientific. It's just a little quick side, but they're pretty and they're homemade and yummy looking. So I'm just gonna brush the olive oil all over these. And then watch how fancy this is. I'm gonna just turn them over, rub that oil on the pan that was on the top. Did you see that? And I'm gonna turn them back over. So now both sides of them have actually been oiled. And that's that. Look how easy that was. And I don't need this one. And then let's just cut them into quarters. I use my pizza roller. You can use a knife if you'd rather. So I'm just gonna cut these guys right down the middle. And then quarter them. Whoop, that one's kind of funny. I'll pull that piece off. We're just gonna quarter these like this. And turn. These are really, really good. And as a matter of fact, what's so interesting about them is that they're actually better as they get kind of room temperature. They're really good hot, but they're especially good after they kind of settle at room temperature. Somehow, it's like miraculous, like science. They actually get crisper as they cool. Okay, so I'm just gonna lay these where they don't really touch each other. We just don't want them all over the place. Just kind of tuck them in, and if you've made too many for your pan, just toss them. Like I said, these are just for fun, little crispy bites. So that's pretty good. All right, okay. Now we're just gonna put a little sprinkle of salt and pepper and chili powder on them and call it a day. How easy is that? So this is just some salt, sea salt. This is pepper. Whoop, I can't make that look like it's coming out. I use these really pretty peppercorns, and they're not as dark as black pepper. So it's making me wonder how much is coming out because I can't see it as well. But it's good. You'll still taste it. And then just a shake of chili powder. You could do cumin, you could do garlic powder, kind of whatever you want, whatever you're in the mood for. And that's that. Look how easy that was. These little guys are gonna go in the oven at 400 for only about 8 or 10 minutes, not very long. While our soup is finishing, we're gonna do the garnishes and all that for our soup. What those are gonna do in the oven is they're gonna kind of puff up a little bit, and then the edges are gonna get just a tiny bit brown, and you're gonna know that they're ready. When you pull them out, they're gonna kind of settle a little bit and get crispy, and they're beautiful, like tucked in the side of the bowl. So what we're gonna do next is, ooh, let me check my soup. We don't want the cheese to settle on the bottom and burn, but it's melted in, it's beautiful. Oh my goodness. And what that stock does to that chicken, it just pulls like all those pieces, it just pulls it into this beautiful shred. So I'm gonna add my lime juice in and add our chopped jalapenos to it as well for a little zing and a little flavor. And our cilantro, when we come back, we're gonna plate it up. This is Cooking Today. Hi, I'm Amy Hannon. Watch Monday to Friday, and I'll share stories, cooking tips, and recipes that'll feed everyone from your family to a big old crowd. Cooking Today, weekdays, right here on KNWA. And we're back. The tortilla chips are crispy. I can hear them sizzling when I open the oven. Can you hear them? I'll be quiet, listen. Look how pretty those are. See how they puffed up a little? Oh, they smell so good. We're gonna let those sit on the counter for just a minute, and then I'm gonna move this pot of white chicken chili over here, and we're gonna get this ladled up into bowls. Oh my goodness. It is beautiful. It smells so good. And what we need to do is stir in the cilantro at the very, very end. You don't want to do it too soon because it'll get all wilted. And you can do as much or as little cilantro as you like. I really love it. So we're gonna just stir that in and let that set, and then we're gonna get our garnishes ready. We have a little cilantro left, a little cheese left, and we're gonna add this avocado, and you can do slices or mashed or crema. We've made avocado crema before, and get that on top of your soup. Oh my goodness, so good. Ready? Let's ladle this. Look how beautiful. Do you see that green, how pretty that color is? And look how white that got after we were so worried about how it looked at the beginning. I told you it's kind of a swan to a princess. It turns beautiful. Okay, here we go. Beautiful bowl. Let's add a little bit of our melted cheese to get it on down in there. A little bit more cilantro, and then you can just squeeze out or scoop out some green avocado and salt and pepper the top of that if you would like. You really don't need it. There's so much flavor. In our soup, just do it all. So pretty. And look at these pretty crispy chips. We're just gonna tuck them in and decorate the sides. Is that beautiful or what? Look at this bowl. Can't wait to eat it. I hope you'll make it at home. This is cooking today.
Groceries provided by Harps, Hometown Fresh. Iced tea brought to you by Lipton. Kitchenware is provided by Una Mays.